Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston. No doubt you'll find some of the biggest pet lovers in our city. But unfortunately, we also have a big pet problem with thousands of homeless and abused animals roaming the streets. Also, an almost year-round breeding season has shelters and foster care groups constantly struggling to keep up. The founders of Houston PetSet made it their mission to tackle these pet problems, starting with making people aware of how big the issue is in Houston through their documentary For the Animals.
I'm a street feeder here in what is called the corridor, the place where they dump dogs that have been used for breeding, that have been used for fighting and baiting.
We have more resources, we have more groups helping, the shelters are better, but the problem is getting worse. The animals are breeding faster.
Volunteers with Houston PetSet are part of our live studio audience this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Joining us with more of their mission and how you can help with a fun event featuring Oscar winner and musician Billy Bob Thornton. Please welcome PetSet co-presidents Tina Lundquist-Faust and Tama Lundquist. And yes, you are seeing double, but that means twice as much work goes for the cause. Give them a round of applause. All right. I remember when you all had the idea to create PetSet. It started out as something else, then you realize there are other people doing the work. Let's help them do the work, and they need those funds, every penny of it. But let's go back to the idea really came into your mind much earlier than that. You always had a heart for animals, both of you. At 3, you both remember begging for a pet. I can imagine double duty, going up there and begging for a pet.
Yes, we did. We were kind of born with this love of dogs, especially dogs and cats, and it's not something we could deny. We know that there are so many causes that are important, but we followed our hearts, and we believe that treating animals is really critical to a civilized society, and we just feel so blessed to have found our calling here in Houston.
And we know animals can't advocate for themselves,
exactly.
Right? Okay, Tina, at 5, you told your dad, I want to create a pet shelter. Do you remember, did you want to create the pet shelter because from a child's view you thought that way I can have lots of animals, or that you knew those animals needed a safe place?
I felt like they needed a safe place, and I think it also filled kind of a hole in my heart. So yeah, I just told my dad, I asked to volunteer at the local animal shelter, and he said, honey, I don't think your heart is ready for that. And I said, well, then someday I'm going to have a dog farm. Yeah. And in my mind, a dog farm meant I was just going to have a bunch of animals running around me. So
yeah. Unfortunately, we have a bunch of animals running around our city.
Exactly.
People really don't understand that pet overpopulation problem, do we?
No, they don't. If you don't see it, you can't understand it. But if you go into certain pockets of our city, you're going to find out that there are hundreds of thousands of strays on our streets, and they are suffering. The animals are being born on our streets. They're suffering on our streets. They're dying on their streets, and there are so many that it's now a public safety, public crisis, public health crisis.
And that overpopulation is exponential.
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat a story that I've told several times because it was when I first became aware. This is back in the 80s. Someone had called, and I was living in Austin, and they said, how do you call yourself a humane shelter when you're putting animals down? And I was going to take them on, right? So I went up there and we talked to them, and all day long people were bringing in boxes of puppies, boxes of kittens. And he said, you see all these animals? Because where do we put them?
Right.
Where do we put them? And so I say exponential, and we talked about the breeding season in Houston being all year long, right? One dog can average 12 puppies a year. The offspring can have 72 puppies that next year. One cat can have 3 litters a year. Offspring can have 144 kittens the next year. And that's just year after year after year that they're on the streets. And you mentioned what a problem it is. People have been bitten.
Right. Oh, people have been killed in Houston, and the problem is going unchecked. There's a lot of things happening that just kind of the can keeps getting kicked down the road, and you know it's our goal to bring collaborative efforts together to stop this, because we think it's one of Houston's solvable problems, and we're making some headway on that, but we need the resources behind it to actually make a dent in what's happening.
Solvable problems, because it hits us in ways that a lot of people aren't thinking. I remember you all talking about there are people who come to the city to see if they should set up their conventions and things, and one person in particular said, you know, I love the city, I love, we could probably do something here, but
we have strays roaming the streets, and it makes for an unsafe city. It's a public health and public safety crisis.
You get bitten by a stray animal, and you don't know what vaccines they've had, so you might have to go through a series of the rabies, shots and all that type of stuff, because you just don't know what they have.
Deborah, it's almost lucky if they just get bitten, because we're talking about several people now who have been attacked and mauled to death by dogs. And it is if you don't care about the animals, at least care about the safety and the civility of our city.
Yeah, all right. You founded PetSet, and tell us what the structure of PetSet is.
PetSet is a nonprofit that was designed to support other nonprofits that are in the trenches doing the really difficult work. So we raise funds for other animal groups and we redistribute those funds because what they do is so important. Their budgets are about $100 million a year. The city and the county combined is about 19 or 20 million. So the lion's share of the work is being done by the nonprofits and the volunteers. We need to continue to support them, but at the same time, we need our city and our county to step up and help, match what the volunteers are doing.
Yeah, and you advocate in so many different ways. Like, if they give it a 911, we need pet food. During COVID was a really tough time too. But 911, we need pet food. 911, we need vaccines, or we need medical care for the animal that we found on the street that's sick or been injured. And speaking of being injured, I know we saw that clip from the corridor of cruelty, basically we call it, and it is heartbreaking. When we tell you about it, it's one thing, but if you show up there and you see it, you're like, why would anyone want to do this to animals?
It's so hard to understand why we have cruelty, and it really comes down to societal issues, but both these dogs are victims of cruelty. They're both rescues.
Tell me about this one.
This is Remy. He was beaten with brass knuckles in a domestic and spent 11 days in ICU. Luckily, we have a very good friend, a mutual friend, Susan Boggio, who helped rescue him, and then he came to our house. And of course, they call it a foster failure. I call it a foster win because he's now our dog.
Yeah, all right, and this one over here.
Sonny Corleone. He's no longer a victim.
Corleone.
He's a bad doggy. No, he's the sweetest dog I've ever had in my whole life. He was found alongside the road. Tina and I actually found him. He had been shot multiple times, and I just couldn't leave him. My heart connected with his heart, and he came to our house and lived, and he's been the sweetest dog I've ever had. And he's really an advocate for his breed. They can be, any dog can be vicious. I have a Chihuahua at my house. If they traded bodies, I'd have to,
I'd have to put one down to be afraid of. But
he
a lot of
is
these dogs, the people have taken them and they've abused them. They've trained them to be vicious because they use them in fights, right? Or they're bedding and stuff like that. And so, but this just shows you that this dog can turn around if it feels like it's loved, because when you first get them, I have one that we literally named ours Ted after Ted Bundy, because no, seriously, but was very. It took a while to break him down, and then finally he realized he was in a safe place, and then he was so protective of us. You do a lot of advocating in many different ways, because there are lots of reasons why animals may end up on the streets. One is obviously overbreeding, so you have spay and neuter programs. You make it easy for people to get their pets spay and neutered. Mandatory microchipping, so you can be reunited with them. You've gotten some state legislation, the Texas Licensed Breeders Act passed.
Yes, we don't advocate for more animals coming into this state from puppy mills when we already have so many dogs that are being euthanized. Healthy dogs, more than 100,000 per year in the state of Texas, get put down.
Wow.
And they're perfectly adoptable animals. But people are continuing to buy dogs, and we're not against good breeding, not at all. Those animals need to stay in kind of the circle, but the puppy mill dogs, the animals that are sold along the roadside, those are the animals that should not be sold. And people need to continue to rescue. You can find almost any purebred in any purebred rescue group. And so there's no need to continue to ship animals into our state when we already have so many adoptable.
You do have a program where you can help ship animals out of our state, because there are other cities that don't have this problem. In fact, they think it's strange. They're like, what? We go to our shelter, there's like 3 dogs to choose from, right? But we have a program where we're able to match dogs with people in other states.
Yes, we do. We've run a transport program since 2017, and we've been able to transport more than 10,000 animals out of state. We've got several different groups around the city that do it, and they don't have this crisis in the north.
All right, it costs money, as you mentioned, every single penny to take care of these pets and try to get them into good, loving homes. So you have fundraisers every year. You're doing something a little bit different this year. The fabulous and the fierce and fabulous Le Brunch.
Yes, the Le Brunch. We decided to switch it up. Tam and I thought that there were opportunities for us to create a new kind of event, not an evening gala, not an evening.
So I don't have to wear
soiree.
5 pairs of Spanx in the evening.
Nope.
Okay.
So Sunday Fun Day brunch. Yeah. Billy Bob Thornton is coming. He'll be our guest entertainment. But we just want people to get together. We're giving you your Friday night back, grabbing you on Sunday, which you might be doing anyway for a fun brunch, and raising funds for the animals at the same time.
Yeah. All right. There are other ways to help throughout the year because this is a 24/7 issue every year, right? So what other ways can people help PetSet?
Make a donation. I mean, $10 makes a difference. That helps us provide a microchip to an animal that might not otherwise get home without the microchip. I mean, any volunteer opportunities. And we support all the groups that are in Houston doing really good work. If it's not PetSet, reach out to another group. Help foster animals. That is a huge need in our city, and it's the most rewarding work you'll ever do.
Yeah. What do you have to say to someone who is considering getting a pet? Because I think when we first get a pet, we all have great intentions, right? But what do you have to say to somebody before they make that decision so that we can make it a forever home?
It's a big responsibility. I mean, they are a sentient being, so they require all the things that a small child would require, and they're expensive too. So think about it. Pick the right pet for your home, and make sure if you're a couch potato, get a couch potato dog like this one. Don't go get a Jack Russell, but if you're active,
I have
get
a
the
Jack Russell. Go figure. Right?
But adopt, don't shop. There are so many great dogs out there, and consider adopting before you shop for an animal. And there's so many, and we'll help you do that. We'll help you find the perfect match.
Ladies, thank you so much for
Thank
what
you,
do.
Deborah. Thank you.
Their Fierce and Fabulous Brunch is happening this Sunday starting at noon at, you have to pronounce the name of this place for me, La Tesserae. La Tesserae, okay? There will be a special performance from Billy Bob Thornton, as we mentioned, and the Boxmasters. Remember, proceeds raised at this event will be distributed to local animal welfare organizations through the granting program. For more information, visit HoustonPetSet.org.